Hey, did you just leave the military, or are you about to? These are the 10 civilian jobs that are actually worth entertaining with your time. And no, we're not talking about any LLMs, and there's no here. Okay, the very first one here is going to be Amazon, Microsoft, or any of these other big corporations that you see within the SkillBridge opportunity. And so when you go to the SkillBridge website, if you're not familiar with that, I've got a whole video on SkillBridge, but it is a cool internship program that the military offers. You will see that Amazon does some internship stuff, Microsoft does some internship stuff. A lot of these big Fortune 500 companies do, and they do it with the intent of hiring you onto the team. So I have a good friend named Steve who works as a high-level Amazon aviation guy, and I'm not going to post his name or talk specifically about his finances, but I know well enough about his finances that his biggest struggle right now is that he's financially free, but it's hard to justify quitting the job because of how much money he makes. And I have a few friends in these corporate jobs that we kind of call like the golden handcuffs, where they do so well that even though they don't have to work anymore, it's tempting to stay because they don't hate their job and they get paid. I mean, we're talking a very large amount of money to stay there, and it's a win-win, right? So now, arguably, so is being financially free and being able to do whatever you want during the day, but I understand why a high-paying W-2 is very appealing. Amazon specifically loves hunting military people enough that somewhere in this office laying around, I have like a little business card holder that says, it has the Amazon logo, and instead of saying Amazon above it, it says military. I was at a career fair where they were specifically trying to hunt service members and veterans to work at Amazon. Microsoft does the same. A lot of these big corporations, Walmart, they love vets. They're headquartered not far from me. And a lot of these really big companies that are great, arguably great to work at, have incredible resources that they put towards hiring service members and vets. So those are great careers to look at. Letter agencies. This could be any number of those 3-letter agencies if you have a TS or TSSCI, which if you don't have that, if you don't know what that means, you probably don't have it, but just for reference, that's a top secret clearance or a top secret special compartmentalized information clearance or anything higher than that. If you have an active clearance of those levels, a lot of these agencies will look to you, depending on your skill set, especially if you're in Intel or crypto or linguist or any of that, because they want your skill set, and then they don't have to worry about you passing that background check, which arguably weeds out a lot of potential candidates that wouldn't pass that background check, so they can just hire you instead of trying to weed out other candidates and make them pass this check, which takes a long time. It puts a lot of pressure on the hiring process to have a clearance that takes 3, 6, 9, 10 months or more to get approved when they can just hire a vet that has it. And I have a couple friends who just walked right into 3-letter agencies when they left the military. They did very well financially. They were taken care of. And in a lot of these, depending on where you go, you can still get all those federal benefits like your TSP and time towards federal retirement, which is really cool. Number 3 here, I have to say it, government contracting or GS positions, right? Government contracting could be as crazy as like the Blackwater side, like you're going to provide security and doing stuff in other countries. I say crazy. I have 2 friends who worked for Blackwater when they got out of the military, and they did very well, or Blackwater-like organizations. And then I have a lot of friends in that realm who do like private security, and they make a pun intended. And then, the government contracting side could be as simple as working for these higher paid government contracts that work directly in correlation to what you used to do. So they would hire, when I was in, a lot of these guys would go work for MRAP, and they would do the diesel mechanics from the military would get out and they'd go work for MRAP, and they'd make really good money, especially if they got deployed to Afghanistan to keep our MRAPs alive, to just be a diesel mechanic with none of the BS. And they'd make all this money, and they'd be in a tax-exempt zone, and then they'd come home, and it was great. And then the GS positions, those are your, GS 10, 13, 12, 16, whatever, right? All these different positions that are government positions. And so they're federal. And, I know right now everybody's like, oh my God, Elon Musk is doing the chopping block on everything. And like, oh, the sky's falling. But at the end of the day, those positions will still exist. It'll just be for higher caliber, higher quality people, quantity is my assumption. Right? My assumption is that they will maintain the quality and cut the quantity, and that they will still hire for quality. And so these are still really solid, really good jobs if you can secure one, which is why a lot of service members and vets, when they retire from the military, they try to walk into a government contracting or GS position on top of their already pension and retirement benefits. And then they're set up for success. They do their 40 years, they do 20 in the military, 20 in government contracting, and they just crush it. Number 4 here, and this applies if you were medical in the military, anything in the healthcare medical space is going to be a good job, especially if you did it in the service, because you will make more money out of the service doing the same thing. And there are certain jobs that do exorbitantly well. Like if you can get your x-ray tech, cert while you're in the military, that'll pay better outside. Anesthesiologists make all kinds of money. Any kind of physician or surgeon or whatever. Nurses do fine too, especially travel nurses. Like there are a lot of opportunities in this space for you to do well financially while using your skill set that you were trained on in the military. And honestly, even if you weren't in the healthcare space in the military, you can still do this. And that's why a lot of service members end up in like EMT roles and or firefighter roles, like all these, kind of healthcare medical side of things where they can put all those skills to use. Those people love to hire service members because we've been tested in stressful environments and they know that we won't just fall apart when shit hits the fan. Number 5, aviation. Anything you did in the military tied to aviation, you can do in the civilian side, and it will pay you very well. Whether this is mechanical stuff, if this is, air traffic control, being a pilot. I have a ton of friends who were pilots in the military, got out, they're pilots in the civilian side, and they make very good money to fly, especially commercially. One of the guys in the war room, he flies for American Airlines, and he crushes it. And he's just a really cool dude. And we've actually got a couple people like that who fly. I have a friend who was he was actually the battalion commander in Hawaii, or the squadron commander in Hawaii for a little while. And him and I led a Cub Scout group for our kids for a while. We were den leaders together. And when he left the military, he got a job as a private pilot. And he does very well. At least that's the last thing I heard he was doing. Who knows where he's at now. But I have another friend who does private pilot for like billionaires, and he crushes. The way that he bills and does his life is pretty cool. And so those are a lot of options in the aviation side, especially if you have your pilot's license, but even on the aviation support side, mechanic side, whatever, you can do very well. Number 6, cybersecurity and IT. If you had any of these skill sets in the military, those jobs will treat you very well outside of the military. The tech stuff is great. The cyber stuff is great. The intel stuff is great. The cybersecurity, like all of that stuff does very well outside of the military. And again, a lot of potential for flexible or remote opportunities, which is cool. Number 7 is logistics. And this could be as simple as like owning a trucking company or driving trucks or working at a trucking company, which is kind of more my side of logistics. Or it could be, and I saw this a lot when I was with embarkers at my last command, a lot of these guys get to work in job fields where, they might be the person who's helping to put ISO containers on a barge and they're running a port, or they might be doing logistics at an airport and they're helping with, packaging like cargo planes and stuff like that and shipping, or they might be working at a trucking company or whatever. There's a lot of logistic stuff within that field, railway, whatever, that pays very well. Well enough that the embark side, like the logistics side of the Marine Corps, is one of the fastest promoting jobs in the military to try to keep those people in the military because they get so many opportunities outside. Number 8, we got project management. And this is unique to basically nobody. This is across the board in the military. You have skills that translate directly to project management because you've been in leadership positions, you've been in responsibility positions, you've done all this stuff. And so if you get your PMP, which is like your project management cert, I don't know what P stands for, whatever. But if you can get your certifications, you can go run project management at big companies or for like construction companies or whatever. You can do your project management, and those are all skill sets that can pay you very well. Number 9 is education and training, right? And this is as simple as just being a teacher, being a professor, doing, even like this, like I'm educating right now, but I don't think that is exactly what we're talking about here. Being able to educate and to train is just a lot of service members, they lean towards that and they love it. And it's very fulfilling. And you can have a really good career. And also, cool fun fact, if you retire from the military on the education and training side, you can work at an NROTC or an ROTC program, a JROTC program for Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, ROTC, like the high school ROTC programs. I'm sure it's the same for college side too, but I have a lot of experience with the high school ROTC programs because I was a recruiter for the Marine Corps. And so I'm still even friends to this day with some of the guys who run local programs. And so they get paid. It's pretty cool, actually. So they get their retirement, they get the disability, whatever. They get paid from the school. They're like teacher salary, but then they also get like a federal additional, like on top of that, like a stipend or whatever from the ROTC program. So they kind of double dip and they do very well for themselves. And then they're getting to play in the role of educating America's like future soldiers and future service members, which is really cool and really fulfilling. And most of those guys love it. A lot of them stay for, ever. The guy at one of the schools here locally didn't retire until he was like in his 60s. And he was just really just a super cool guy. And so, it's very fulfilling. It's rewarding. It's a great job. And I think if you have the ability to get into the junior ROTC side of the world, it is a great opportunity. Number 10 here on the list, the very final one, is entrepreneurship. Build your own shit because you're a veteran and you're unstoppable. You're a badass. Service members and vets crush it in the business and entrepreneur space if they choose to do so. We are disciplined. We are consistent. We are okay with working hard for a little compensation up front, right? Because it takes a lot to get through that, like I call it the BMW phase, your below minimum wage phase. We're used to hard shit. And so we do very well when we put our mind to building a business or being an entrepreneur. And so I'm not saying that is for everyone and that you should do it. And I'm not saying you should jump off of that bridge without some level of financial stability, because it is not a guaranteed or easy thing. But I mean, in the entrepreneur space, you could be a real estate agent, you could be a mortgage lender. Both of those are a lot faster flash to bang for making some money. You could do very well for yourself by building out several different versions of businesses or building out a brand, running a company. There's a lot of really cool stuff. You could be a CEO, you could be a COO, you could be, depending on your skill set, there's a lot of opportunities in the business space as both an executive, as somebody building a company. You could even get into buying companies and acquisitions. I've got a lot of friends doing that and getting into the mergers and acquisition space. And so there's a lot of these very unique opportunities within this sphere that could make you a lot of money and help you financially in a significant way. And so I'm not saying that everybody is by any means cut out for this, but I think service members have a unique ability to succeed in those realms. And so if you are inclined to do so, I would encourage you to lean into that and give it a shot. You might find that it's very rewarding. It has been for me. I hope this helps. These are the 10 careers that I would consider if I was getting out of the military, or that I would encourage most people to consider getting out of the military. I'd love to hear from you guys, though. What did I miss? Comment down below and let me know what career fields you think are really, really, really solid for service members and vets. What opportunities are out there. I'd love to hear, and we'll like and comment on the best ones and try to boost them up so you guys can see them. And if I dropped one here that you it blew your mind or you had no idea about, ask some questions, talk about it, whatever. But I hope this was helpful. I love you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and you check out all our free resources, and have a great day.